Welcome to today's 5-Minute Friday. I run these sessions as an opportunity to talk to really interesting people who've got ideas that I believe need to be shared with the wider HR community. And there is nobody that I would like the community to hear from more than Esther O'Callaghan, somebody who has devoted her life to helping people from diverse and disadvantaged backgrounds getting meaningful work within organizations. And so, Esther, you and I have been talking for some time about this area, and let's kick off with explaining why it is that companies should care. So why should companies think about trying to bring in disadvantaged young people into their businesses?
I think it's an interesting time to be having this conversation because the businesses that I talk to are starting to look through a very different lens when it comes to entry-level talent. They're aware that they've got kind of really well-established graduate programs. You know, some big companies are getting rid of the graduate programs. You know, there is a sort of a recognition that actually bringing in a diverse workforce from day one is beneficial to your business. So obviously my background was in predominantly the charity sector. So, you know, I was always looking at it as, you know, it's a great thing to do for young people. But increasingly, particularly over the last 5 years, I've been looking at it going, businesses have got a big problem on their hands if they don't start investing in young people quite soon. You need a young skilled workforce that you're home growing and bringing through the ranks. Otherwise, you're going to find your competitors who have got their head in the game in terms of that entry-level talent starting to outperform you. And the markets are showing that now. Just recently looking at the Standard & Poor ESG companies, you know, those like B Corps, you know, those who are actually investing in this are performing better. And I find that really encouraging because for me, it's always going, if you can create a business solution that solves a social one, that gives you a very, very sustainable place to start from. And that's what we're trying to do with Hundo.
And right now, this is a huge social challenge.
Yeah.
And it's more than ever before.
Yeah, I feel, you know, I've kind of lived through the 2008 crash, you know, where kind of 1 million young people just disappeared, you know, out of employment. And this particular situation is a perfect storm for young people. But I do feel quite positive that it's almost like people are so aware of it now, you know, even with, you know, the Chancellor, Treasury with Kickstart, you know, with T-levels coming through with colleges, that there really is a kind of almost an awakening to the acuteness of the problem of youth unemployment. It's always been a huge problem. You know, young people are 3 times more likely to be unemployed than their adult counterparts before COVID. You know, it's like kids who grew up on free school meals like me are 3 times more likely to be unemployed than kids who didn't. You know, there is just this continuous, you know, vicious circle, you know, of poverty, of opportunity for young people. But what's nice to see now, and I mean, it's a shame that it takes extreme things, you know, like Me Too, like Black Lives Matter. It's a shame that extreme things have to happen for change to start, but at least it gives you that kind of marker in the sand. And I do feel that collectively between educators, government, employers, there does seem to be a definite sea change in terms of recognising that young people aren't actually the problem. You know, they're actually part of the solution if we start to actually include them in the process.
And why do companies find it so difficult to attract and to find and successfully onboard young people into their businesses?
They're not very cool. But it's true though, isn't it? Yeah. It's like, you know, it's kind of like if you think about like HR and you think about all this stuff, and it's like, you know, just the terminology, you know, I mean, just like look at a job spec. I mean, a CV, it's like every 18-year-old CV will tell you that they're a highly motivated, hardworking individual, you know. Yeah. It's just all the same, you know, and it's kind of going, if you look at brands and the way that they interact with young people, they engage, you know, there's a reason for that. They understand that that's a powerful market. And I think if we can start to get employers to think more in terms of what do they look like to a young person? You know, I got 16-year-olds who turn around and ask me how to spell careers, you know, I mean, I'm like, kill me now, you know, it's like, this is my entire world, you know, it's like, and it just, you know, and I think it's remembering, you know, remembering your first job, you know, remembering your first interview and trying to start to design with the young person at the heart of it.
And what about helping them then to be successful within an organization? Because I think a lot of companies think, buy into the idea of recruiting young people, but are we equipped to be able to successfully onboard them, and what happens if it goes wrong?
Yeah.
And I think this is a challenge that is felt by both big companies and small companies.
Yeah, and I think there's, what we found is there's a lot of fear on both sides, what's this young, what are these young people gonna, be like? They're all gonna sit, wearing hoodies, and stuff. I mean, it is quite bizarre to me, it's sort of but what I found is actually there's a huge willingness on the part of employers, and there's a huge willingness on the part of young people. They want to work and employers want to hire them. That's all you really need. The bit that we do in the middle is making sure that those young people are not just work ready, but they're kind of like office ready, or so they know what to expect, because skills, vocational skills and qualifications you can teach and they can learn. Things like making sure that they know what to do the night before their interview. Have they got money for the bus or the train? Have they got credit on the phone? Is the phone charged? Have they thought about what they're wearing? Have they washed their hair? It's stuff that it seems like super simple, but actually those are the things that give them a chance at interview. And then beyond that, hiring managers and line managers, we offer support for them ongoing, and for the young people, because actually it's one thing to get a young person into a business, ensuring that they can stay there. That's where it gets really, that's where you've got real success. And that's what we're finding is the more support up front for young people and for the employers. Our stats, sit around 84% of the young people who come through Hundo, they're still with their employers a year later. And that's kind of where it matters.
Is that right? Isn't that fantastic? And how do people feel about those employees?
It's lovely. One of our main clients turned around in Manchester, and at the time, the line managers were a bit like, because they got a lot on, and they actually turned around after the whole process and said that the young people they'd hired were some of the best hires they'd ever made, and therefore want to hire some more. And that's what matters to me. We want them to be successful, because if a business takes 5 this year, maybe they'll support 15 the next year. 20, 50, and that's how you start to tackle the social problem, by making it work for the business.
And I love this, because effectively in bringing in this young early stage talent who become the future managers and leaders of teams and leaders of businesses, and what that then naturally leads to is role models and role models within an organization that then lead to more people coming in and feeling that they have got a home in that organization. And completely. So it becomes a sort of a virtuous circle, and companies end up being more successful as a consequence.
Because you tend to find that non-graduate entry-level roles, by design, you will get a lot of diversity and inclusion and a lot of stuff going on in there. And you're absolutely right. They can then go through the ranks and inspire the next generation coming through.
Brilliant. Esther, thank you very much for sharing with me. For anybody who wants to talk to Esther and get more information about what she does and the difference that she can make to your business, then it's Esther at hundo.careers. Thank you very much.
Cheers, Chris.